All right, what's the latest happening regarding Diddy? What should you be aware of? What should you be afraid of? What should you be paying attention to? Let me fill you in on this one right now. Because it seems the legal saga of Diddy, of course, took another dramatic turn this week as both the defense and the prosecution agreed to expedite the sentencing process. This is very interesting. Following the split verdict, absolutely the success on his part. Now, after being acquitted of the headline-grabbing federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges, but convicted on 2 measly counts of transporting individuals across state lines to engage in prostitution, Diddy's legal fate now rests in the hands of U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian, who has thus far shown little indication or any inclination towards leniency. Now, the stakes are monumental. And by the way, remember, it's sentencing guidelines that matter, not necessarily the empathy or the sympathy of the judge. Now, each count carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. 10 years, theoretical maximum, but that's not what the sentence is going to be based upon the sentencing guidelines. I think about 1.5 years to 3 years, and plus, with whatever his credit for time served is or his time served, he could be out before you know it. But before we get to that, although the defense managed to escape conviction on the most serious of charges, the elation from the courtroom victory has all but, dare I say, evaporated. Now, Diddy remains behind bars, of course, and for the 5th time, Judge Subramanian has denied him bail, this time in the post-verdict phase, or his release pending appeal, and that continued refusal of pre-sentencing release is being interpreted by some legal experts not as a technicality, but as a harbinger of a tough sentence, or what I think most legal scholars would say, pretty much pro forma, because what the judge is doing is you normally would grant bail pending appeal if you thought there was a good chance of being successful on appeal. Maybe there was a problem with the case. What the judge is saying is that there's going to be little chance, in his mind, of his verdict or this verdict being overturned. So for the most part, don't let that get you, but it kind of doesn't mean much. Now, the judge's repeated citation of Diddy's propensity for violence, including explicit references to the now infamous 2016 hotel hallway surveillance video, a beating showing him assaulting Cassie Ventura. This is being taken as a signal that the court sees Diddy as some kind of a serious long-term threat, which is very important. Not critical, but important. Now, what's unfolding is a high-stakes chess match between federal prosecutors and the defense team pushing hard for time served. Now, while the guidelines technically suggest a sentence of 21 to 27 months for a prostitution transportation conviction, Diddy's team is pushing for something even lighter, arguing that his time spent in pretrial detention should suffice, or what is referred to as a departure under the guidelines, provided you can provide clear and convincing reasons to depart the presumed sentence. Now, they've highlighted his role as a single parent to 2 young girls or daughters. They've submitted urgent filings requesting the sentence phase be accelerated, seemingly to maximize whatever sympathy may be left for their client, which is a very, very good move. Now, but the prosecution in this case drawing a very different picture, as you can imagine, even from one Maureen Comey, calling the sentence of 4 to 5 years minimum, citing aggravating factors, including, of course, Diddy's documented history of violent behavior, the nature of the crime itself, repeated interference with witnesses, etc., etc., etc. This is kind of what they have to do. Prosecutors purportedly believe that Diddy's status, his money and fame should not excuse what they argue was a deliberate pattern of manipulation and abuse of vulnerable people, vulnerable victims, vulnerable women, even if the jury stopped short of calling it sex trafficking. That's very, very important. Now, the reality is that while acquitted of the most salacious federal charges, Diddy is not walking away from this trial unscathed. In fact, his conviction on transporting for prostitution is really no minor offense. It places him squarely in the crosshairs of a federal judge who already appears convinced that the defendant, Mr. Diddy, has a long pattern and propensity perhaps for abusive behavior and conduct. One that didn't just emerge in the last couple of years, but extends back decades. And that's important. Now, for that reason alone, the defense's optimism appears, dare I say, a tad misplaced. Now, legal commentators and jurists and thinkers, and myself included, to an extent, believe that you should be very careful, and many are warning that the judge's repeated rejection of Diddy's bail request signals a significant prison term. Perhaps. Remember, the purpose of bail is to do two things: to ensure appearance and to protect society. And one could say that, having seen that the judge did not release him on bail, a message may be coming that you're going to be spending a lot more time, so no reason to let you come home now, whatever. Not necessarily. Remember, the judge is not sentencing him yet. Releasing him pending an appeal that the judge believes is going to be denied is one thing. In fact, it may be to Diddy's benefit just to stay where he is. He may just, if he's going to do the time, do it now. And do it now while he's able to garner the sympathy and try to rebuild whatever that particular empire of his was. Now, many are predicting a sentence of 2 to 3.5 years. Who knows? Significantly above the defense's hope. You should always go for middle ground. There are a series of statutory reasons to depart below and above based upon reasons we won't get into now. Now, the gravity of the judge's pending decision cannot be overstated. This is not just the technical sentencing range. This is about narrative and precedent. This is a case that has garnered national attention, not just for its celebrity defendant or the fact that it's Diddy, but for the broader questions it raises about accountability and abuse of power and abuse in general, and the apparent immunity, some believe, of the rich and famous. Judge Subramanian, who has thus far handled the case with a kind of a no-nonsense, methodical demeanor, as is expected by some of the finest judges in the nation, now holds the pen on whether Diddy will walk free or serve a sentence substantial enough to reinforce the notion and the idea and the suggestion that status does not equal exemption. Now, the court hearing on July the 8th lasted only minutes, but it was enough to confirm that the two sides have reached a rare agreement on fast-tracking sentencing, a procedural formality that clears the path for the judge to issue a ruling on the new timeline. And that ruling is expected in writing within the next several days. Now, sources inside the courtroom and sources close to the particular endeavor indicated that both parties are eager now to conclude this phase quickly, but for very different reasons. The defense believes momentum is on their side following the acquittals. The prosecution wants to capitalize on the credibility that they established, they believe, during the trial, and push for a penalty that they believe reflects the seriousness and the gravity of the underlying behavior. Even if the jury didn't find the full scope of trafficking proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So think about that one right now. Now, for the broader public, listen to this. Diddy's conviction is both a partial victory and a sobering reminder. Now, while he dodged the most severe labels and the severe charges, the trial unveiled a mountain of disturbing evidence that range from coerced relationships to drug-fueled abuse to non-disclosure agreements, all meant to muzzle victims. The not guilty verdicts do not erase the record, and the conviction, while narrower in legal scope, gives Judge Subramanian the opportunity to impose a sentence that acknowledges the real harm done. And that's what this is about. Observers and people in the courtroom and also commentators also note that public pressure may factor into the sentencing case, even for federal court. It may have an impact, even if not explicitly. You know, the DOJ has taken heat in several months for perceived failures and elite accountability, most notably in the handling of Epstein. Remember that one especially now? especially with the files and the refusal to pursue clients or co-conspirators. So prosecutors in the Diddy case may see this sentencing as a time maybe to reestablish their willingness to pursue justice against the wealthy and the well-connected. If that's true, the leniency the defense hopes for may not be on the table. We shall see. But in short, and in conclusion, my friend, both sides, prosecution and defense, have now placed their bets. The defense wants out immediately. The prosecution wants justice, whatever that means, measured in years, not months. And the judge whose prior rulings suggest skepticism towards leniency, now prepares to make one of the most consequential and critical and watched and observed sentencing decisions of the year, to be sure. And the public awaits that written ruling. And depending on how it lands, the case of Sean Diddy Combs could either mark a soft landing for a damaged celebrity or the beginning of a new, far grimmer, darker chapter behind bars, in the hoosgow, in the pen. Either way, the illusion of impunity surrounding Mr. Diddy has been shattered. And whatever happens next, it's clear the system is finally responding. Slowly, perhaps, imperfectly, but undeniably responding. So that's what you should be paying attention to. Please stay here. Pay attention to this. Please like this video. Subscribe to Lionel Legal. Make sure you're focused on what's going on. And pay close attention to what's happening right now. We'll give you the up-to-the-minute updates, what I think is happening, what you should know, what you should not know, and more importantly, what it all means. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And whatever you do, I beg, beseech, importune, and implore you, my friend, to comment as you see fit.